Now, I would argue Doria had actually enabled a lot of this bad behavior by Meghan, and I would also argue that Doria should absolutely have stepped in when Meghan Markle decided to kick her father to the curb.
A stunning new controversy has erupted around Meghan Markle after sharp-eyed royal watchers noticed something impossible to ignore. In a carefully crafted collection of anniversary photos meant to celebrate love, family, and loyalty, one person appeared to vanish completely: her own mother, Doria Ragland. As speculation exploded online, the Daily Mail reportedly uncovered details that turned a simple photo tribute into a fresh royal storm filled with suspicion, backlash, and uncomfortable questions. So, what do you think? Was Doria intentionally erased from the spotlight, or are critics reading too much into it? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoy uncovering the latest royal drama and hidden details the headlines miss, don't forget to subscribe. 24 photos and one loud silence. 24 carefully selected photographs appeared online like a polished museum display, but the silence inside them spoke louder than any anniversary message ever could. On a warm Tuesday afternoon in Cannes, Daily Mail editor Alison Boshoff reportedly stared at the post and began counting each image one by one, while veteran royal writer Tom Sykes, freshly returned from Geneva, noticed something equally impossible to ignore. For a celebration marking Meghan Markle's 8th wedding anniversary, almost nobody connected to the royal family seemed to exist at all.
Meghan Markle, Prince Harry, and their 2 kids, Archie and Lilibet, to mark the couple's 8th anniversary.
The collection, shared with millions of Instagram followers, looked less like a tribute to a marriage and more like a spotlight fixed on one person. Picture after picture showed Meghan alone, smiling alone, dancing alone, posing alone in the white Stella McCartney reception dress that once symbolized a royal fairy tale watched across the world in 2018. Missing from the carefully arranged memories were faces many expected to see. Her mother Doria was absent. King Charles was nowhere in sight. Not a single royal family member appeared in the sequence. Even the few celebrity connections visible raised eyebrows more than admiration. Commentators quickly questioned what the post was truly meant to say. Some believed it revealed a deeper attempt to reshape public memory of the wedding itself, turning a historic royal event into a highly personal brand image. Others focused on the uncomfortable contradiction surrounding the celebration. Years earlier, Meghan had publicly described the royal wedding as a global spectacle funded by British taxpayers. Yet critics now argued that the same occasion was quietly being repackaged for commercial attention. One image in particular fueled the discussion even further, after reports linked it to promotional branding tied to lifestyle products. For critics, that crossed a line they had long predicted would eventually be reached. The debate was no longer only about missing relatives or fading royal ties. It became a larger argument about identity, image control, and whether the woman who once entered the monarchy surrounded by family, tradition, and worldwide celebration now preferred to retell that chapter with almost everyone erased from the frame. And perhaps that was the detail people found hardest to ignore. Not who appeared in the photographs, but who no longer seemed to matter enough to be remembered at all. 24 carefully selected photographs surfaced online in the early hours of Tuesday, but instead of celebration, they sparked discomfort and questions. Why did this anniversary tribute feel so strangely incomplete, and what deeper meaning lay behind the carefully chosen moments from Windsor 2018 that seemed to exclude something or someone vital? Let's uncover the astonishing details. The carousel of silent distance. 24 carefully chosen photographs appeared online in the quiet hours of Tuesday morning, and within minutes, people were already asking the same uneasy question. Why did this anniversary tribute feel so strangely lonely? The glossy collage looked romantic at first glance, filled with elegant gowns, candlelit moments, and intimate snapshots from that famous royal wedding in Windsor back in 2018. Yet the deeper viewers looked, the more unsettling the collection became. It was not the images that shocked people most, it was who seemed missing from them. The carousel unfolded almost like a carefully staged movie scene. There was Meghan standing alone in a hallway wearing the Givenchy ceremony dress, her eyes lowered toward the floor as if lost in thought. Another image showed her in the Stella McCartney reception gown, dancing freely with her arms raised high. Again, alone. Even in moments where Prince Harry appeared beside her, the attention somehow drifted back toward her expressions, her poses, her presence. The anniversary post felt less like a celebration of a marriage and more like a spotlight fixed on one person. Some photographs puzzled viewers entirely. One especially awkward close-up, where Meghan held Harry's face as he stared blankly with his mouth half open, quickly became the image people could not stop discussing online. Critics wondered why such an unflattering private moment had been included at all. Others believed the entire collection seemed designed to trigger conversation rather than preserve memories. And perhaps that was exactly the point. What truly fueled the speculation, however, was the silence surrounding the post. For a couple once surrounded by celebrities, billionaires, and royal connections, there were almost no public anniversary tributes from famous friends. Not one major Hollywood figure stepped forward with glowing messages or emotional throwback photos. Elton John appeared briefly in a single reception image tucked away near the corner of the collage, and even that connection reportedly remained closer to Harry than to Meghan. The absence of visible support became louder than any caption could ever be. That silence felt even more uncomfortable because only 7 months earlier, during an October appearance on an American comedy podcast, Harry had spoken passionately about the dangers of social media and public attention. Yet this anniversary display seemed built to invite exactly the frenzy he once criticized. In the end, people were left staring not at a joyful love story, but at a carefully polished portrait of distance, isolation, and a marriage still struggling to control the narrative around it. A single photograph can say more than words ever could. But what happens when carefully chosen images begin to raise more questions than they answer? Why did Meghan Markle's anniversary collection spark intense debate? And what deeper story is hidden in the faces that were quietly left out? Let's find out. The wedding album that told a different story. One photograph can reveal far more than a public statement ever could, and sometimes the loudest message comes from the faces missing from the frame. When Meghan Markle released a carefully selected collection of 24 wedding photographs to mark her anniversary, attention quickly shifted away from the romance and toward the silence hidden inside the images.
Duke and Duchess of Sussex anniversary with a photo on Instagram from behind the scenes at their wedding in Windsor.
The collection appeared polished, emotional, and deeply personal, yet many people noticed something impossible to ignore. Certain figures who once stood at the center of that historic day had seemingly vanished from the story altogether. The wedding at St. George's Chapel on the 19th of May, 2018, was watched around the world. Cameras followed every movement, every smile, every tear. Among the most emotional moments was the presence of Doria Ragland, Meghan's mother, and the only member of the Markle family seated on the bride's side. She arrived from Los Angeles wearing soft blue, sitting alone in the front pew, while millions watched her emotional reactions throughout the ceremony. Photographs captured her holding Meghan's hand outside the chapel, smiling during the reception, and wiping tears from her face as the vows were exchanged. Yet years later, when Meghan presented her own version of the wedding memories to millions of followers, Doria was nowhere to be seen, not in the formal portraits, not in the behind-the-scenes preparations, not even in the casual moments that supposedly reflected the warmth of family. The absence immediately sparked questions because the photographs certainly exist. Official photographer Alexei Lubomirsky had publicly released several portraits of Meghan and Doria after the ceremony in 2018. Meghan had access to every image from that archive, meaning the omission was not accidental but deliberate. Observers began to wonder whether the missing photographs revealed a private distance hidden beneath public appearances. Over recent years, Doria's rare appearances beside Meghan often seemed restrained, almost uncomfortable with the intense spotlight surrounding her daughter's projects. The anniversary collage, therefore, felt less like a celebration and more like a carefully edited message. In the end, people were not discussing the photographs included in the album. They were discussing the person missing from it. Years after the Windsor Castle wedding on May 2018, a simple photo carousel has reopened old questions about family, memory, and meaning. But why would Meghan Markle's carefully curated set of 24 images leave out her mother, Doria, once described as her closest confidant? And what story does that absence truly reveal? Let's unravel the details. The missing faces in a carefully curated memory. Years on, a simple scroll through a wedding photo carousel tells a louder story than words ever could. 8 years after the royal wedding held at Windsor Castle on May 18, 2018, a set of 24 images shared by Meghan has continued to spark discussion. What draws attention is not what is shown, but what is left out. Her mother, Doria, a figure she has often described as her closest companion in interviews, documentaries, and even during the Sussex royal launch, is nowhere in sight within the curated collection. The absence feels striking in a moment that was otherwise meant to celebrate family unity. The images focus heavily on Meghan and Prince Harry, often highlighting close, affectionate moments between them. In some frames, they appear caught in a private rhythm, with Harry often presented as passive within Meghan's strong direction of presence. Around them, the wider royal circle fades away. The Prince and Princess of Wales, Princess Catherine, the late Queen Elizabeth, and Prince Philip, along with other senior royals and guests who attended that historic day at St. George's Chapel, are not included in the visual narrative. Even Prince William, once the best man, is absent from this selection. Instead, the album creates a narrow lens, centering only a few figures while removing the broader royal landscape. This selective storytelling contrasts sharply with past public statements, where Meghan spoke warmly about her mother being a guiding force in her life. The decision to present the wedding in this way raises questions about how memory is shaped through images and what is intentionally emphasized or quietly excluded. In focusing so closely on personal connection, the wider context of one of the most globally watched royal weddings becomes reframed, leaving viewers to interpret not just what is seen, but what has been deliberately left unseen. Through this selective framing, the image becomes less a record of a day and more a crafted message about identity, attention, and control, inviting ongoing debate among viewers who interpret silence and absence as loudly as presence itself within modern digital storytelling today's discourse. King Charles III's rare gesture of walking Meghan partway down the aisle was long seen as a defining moment of support after her father's absence. So why has this powerful scene now disappeared from newly released wedding photos? And what does its removal reveal about the story the palace is choosing to tell? Now let's uncover what this surprising omission truly reveals about the story behind that historic royal wedding day. The wedding carousel and the memory war. The sight of King Charles III, then the Prince of Wales, guiding Meghan partway down the aisle still stands out in royal memory as a rare gesture of support after her father withdrew from the ceremony. Historians later described it as an unusual moment of welcome from a monarchy not often known for such personal substitutions. Yet in a recent release of 24 wedding photographs, that scene is absent, alongside other key royal presences that once defined the day. Queen Elizabeth II, who attended the ceremony, approved the venue and carriage procession, and granted Prince Harry the Sussex dukedom that very morning, is also missing from the collection. Prince William and Catherine, the Princess of Wales, arrived together at the chapel, while their children, Prince George and Princess Charlotte, participated as page and bridesmaid, yet none appeared in the shared carousel. The contrast has sparked debate, with observers noting how different members of the family often present curated images of past events versus ongoing moments of daily life. Commentators have suggested that Prince William and Catherine tend to focus on present and future family imagery, while Meghan Markle's posts lean heavily on revisiting earlier milestones. One royal correspondent, Tom Sykes, who has covered the royal beat for 15 years, argued in Substack essays published in the same week that the Sussexes have gradually exhausted much of their early goodwill. He described their communication style as performative restraint paired with what he called reflexive vanity, framing the wedding image release as part of a broader branding effort. The 24-photo carousel, published on a Tuesday, was widely interpreted as a curated asset rather than a simple private memory shared with the public. Some voices, including Paula from a commentary panel, observed that she appears to be the only one revisiting that wedding moment publicly, with no comparable engagement from friends or family. That detail, analysts argue, is not accidental, but reflective of a carefully controlled narrative around what is shown, remembered, and intentionally left out within modern media scrutiny and public perception. Meghan Markle's carefully curated wedding memory has resurfaced, reigniting debate over who was included and who was quietly absent from the celebration's lasting image. But why did only Elton John appear as the sole global figure in that 2018 remembrance?
Elton John, will he be at the wedding? Will he perform Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's wedding? TMZ is reporting.
And what does this selective portrayal reveal about friendship, loyalty, and image control? Let's find out. A curated royal memory and shifting alliances. A carefully curated wedding memory surfaces again as attention turns to who was included and who was quietly left out of the celebration's lasting image. At the center of the discussion is Meghan Markle, and the way her wedding remembrance, shared years after the event in 2018, shaped public debate about friendship, loyalty, and image. Reports suggested that among many familiar faces, only one global performer stood out in the shared carousel, with Elton John appearing as the sole widely recognized celebrity in that curated view. That detail, according to commentary in the Daily Mail, was interpreted by some observers as a sign that personal ties and royal associations were being separated in carefully curated public storytelling. In contrast, prominent attendees at the 2018 ceremony, including George Clooney and Amal Clooney, were described in reports as guests who had limited prior personal connection to the couple, yet whose presence carried strong symbolic weight within global celebrity culture. Elsewhere, their appearances at later high-profile gatherings, including a King Charles III charity event held years after the wedding, were pointed to as signs of evolving public alignments among elite social circles. The conversation has also frequently circled back to a widely discussed interview 3 years after the 2018 ceremony, when Oprah Winfrey's conversation with the Sussex couple became a major global talking point.
To Meghan and Harry's bombshell interview with Oprah, the legendary host shares a text message.
Since then, some commentators have argued that many of the high-profile relationships associated with the wedding have gradually faded, while others suggest those connections were always more symbolic than deeply personal from the outset. More recent appearances, including those of David Beckham and Victoria Beckham, have been contrasted with their visible presence at the wedding itself, highlighting how relationships within elite social spaces can shift depending on circumstance, timing, and public narrative. Observers have noted that in recent years, attention has increasingly moved away from shared celebrations towards separate public engagements, with each figure appearing within distinct circles of influence. Even recently, renewed discussion has resurfaced around earlier guest lists and archived social posts, with attention returning to how carefully selected images and appearances continue to shape public perceptions of relationships formed around the 2018 royal wedding, long after the event itself. Ultimately, the story being retold is less about the day itself and more about how memory, media framing, and shifting social connections continue to redefine what was once presented as a unified moment of global celebration in public imagination today. Serena Williams was once seen as Meghan Markle's strongest and most loyal ally, but has something quietly changed behind the public image. What do fading appearances, curated anniversary posts, and shifting celebrity ties reveal about a friendship many believed was unbreakable, and what truth lies behind this shrinking social circle? Let's uncover the intriguing details. The vanishing circle around a public life. Serena Williams, by Boshoff's account, stood as the last true holdout in what many now see as a shrinking circle around Meghan Markle's public life. Once considered steady, she is now reported to have cooled, like others who once appeared close in the celebrity orbit. This shifting social ledger is often read through anniversary posts, where Elton John appears beside mirror selfies and carefully chosen memories shared online. Critics argue that the curated images reflect a narrowing circle rather than a widening celebration. Even when Hollywood figures gather elsewhere, such as George Clooney attending King Charles's recent London event, the contrast becomes hard to ignore. Boshoff's reporting focuses less on who skipped posts and more on who remains visible within Meghan's own shared narrative. In one anniversary moment marking 8 years of marriage, a collage titled "Forever Your Girl" was posted in soft tones, blending wedding memories with carefully staged waves to crowds. Some viewers found the images unsettling, pointing to forced smiles and deliberately arranged frames that felt more controlled than candid, raising quiet questions about what is chosen for public view and what is left out. In October 2025, Prince Harry appeared on a podcast with Hassan Minhaj, reflecting on parenting in California and the growing influence of technology on childhood. He described social media companies as harmful forces shaping young minds and expressed deep caution about when his children might be introduced to phones. The conversation became more personal as he and Meghan discussed limits, responsibility, and the challenges of raising children in a digital world that evolves faster than parental guidance can keep up. Against this backdrop, the couple's carefully curated public memories stand in contrast with their private concerns, unfolding side by side, yet rarely intersecting in visible ways. What once appeared to be a wide circle of close friendships now seems more selective and tightly framed through public presentation. Supporters interpret this as intention and privacy management, while critics view it as distance replacing earlier warmth. The tension between lived reality and curated storytelling continues to shape how each image, caption, and public statement is received and debated across media platforms. Behind polished posts and controlled appearances, a quieter narrative emerges, one of shifting alliances, evolving priorities, and relationships that no longer align neatly with their earlier public image. Friends once described as inseparable are now spoken of in more distant terms as time, geography, and differing life paths reshape those connections. At the same time, ongoing discussions about parenting in the digital age add another layer of relevance that extends far beyond celebrity life into everyday households worldwide. The result is a portrait of modern fame defined by selection, caution, and constant scrutiny, where every detail shared publicly is weighed against what remains deliberately unseen. How did a seemingly harmless podcast remark from late October resurface months later to ignite fresh attention around a simple anniversary post, and what hidden significance lies behind the wedding photos, children's singing tribute, and even the symbolic bronze penguin gift marking 8 years of marriage? Let's find out. Shifting images of a public marriage. Attention turned back this week to a comment first made in late October, when a brief podcast moment quietly traveled through royal watching circles before fading into the background within 2 days. On Tuesday, the 19th of May, attention shifted to a public post where a carousel of 24 wedding photographs appeared for a following of about 4.5 million people. It included a short video of children singing Happy Anniversary, alongside a bronze penguin gift chosen to mark 8 years of marriage, echoing the traditional symbol of endurance and loyalty.
For a royal wedding. Now, 8 years later, Meghan Markle is uploading an emergency Instagram scrapbook at midnight.
That carefully curated display stood in contrast to earlier remarks from the same relationship narrative, where a podcast appearance described a more cautious approach to sharing private life online. These two portrayals sit uneasily beside each other, suggesting different faces of the same marriage presented to the public. Looking ahead on the 6th of June, another moment is expected to surface, shaped by past celebrations where engagement memories were linked to playful penguin costumes and shared laughter. In those recollections, phrases of joy, family unity, and symbolic animal imagery are recalled as part of a story that continues to evolve in public view. Together, these fragments create a layered picture that shifts depending on who is speaking and when leaving observers, to compare polished images with earlier statements that suggested a more restrained digital presence, and raising questions about how private vows are reshaped once they enter a public space filled with interpretation, memory, and celebration, where each shared photo gesture or recollection becomes part of a continuing story that is constantly revised, especially as future dates draw closer, and new moments are prepared to be shared again across shifting public attention and renewed interest that never fully settles into a single fixed narrative over time, it seems. As preparations unfold for Peter Phillips and Harriet Sperling's wedding at All Saints Church in Kemble,
Peter Phillips and Harriet Spurling have announced their wedding dates. They will walk down the aisle at All Saints Church, Kemble.
With King Charles, Queen Camilla, and the Waleses expected to attend, one detail stands out more than the ceremony itself. Why are Prince Harry and Meghan absent from such a significant royal gathering, and what does this silent omission reveal about the widening distance within the royal family that few are willing to openly acknowledge? Let's find out. A wedding that echoes far beyond the aisles. Whispers of change drift through the royal circle as Peter Phillips, son of Princess Anne and eldest grandson of the late Queen, prepares to marry Harriet Spurling at All Saints Church in Kemble, a ceremony drawing attention far beyond its simple setting. King Charles is expected to attend, alongside Queen Camilla, with Prince William and Catherine also invited, shaping the event into a rare full royal appearance. Yet the guest list draws sharp attention as Prince Harry and Meghan are absent, a detail many see as a quiet but clear message about distance within the family. Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie are expected to return to more visible royal life at the gathering after months of being quietly seen at events linked with the King's circle. Behind the scenes, reports suggest royal aides have encouraged their continued inclusion, signaling efforts to keep parts of the wider family connected. At the same time, conversations around the Sussexes' absence have grown louder, with commentators calling it one of the clearest signs yet of separation from formal royal gatherings. Some observers point to earlier public moments, including a widely discussed social media carousel of 24 photographs that sparked debate over image control and family presentation. The discussion also drifted into past commercial controversies, from a candle release linked to family branding to later adjustments after public backlash, further fueling criticism of how private life and public image often overlap. One moment even referenced appearances involving Elton John, adding to the swirl of celebrity association around the wider narrative. In the end, what should have been a simple family wedding in Kemble has become a mirror reflecting shifting alliances, careful silences, and the ongoing struggle between duty and personal distance. Public briefings have quietly shaped the narrative, with insiders suggesting that invitations were carefully considered to reflect unity within the immediate royal household. This has left many reading between the lines, especially as Beatrice and Eugenie's renewed visibility is seen as part of a broader effort to stabilize family ties after years of public strain. Meanwhile, commentary around modern royal image building has intensified, with attention placed on curated posts, carefully chosen photographs, and the growing importance of online perception. Against this backdrop, earlier moments of public criticism, including debates around family-themed branding and shifting messaging, continue to resurface and shape how each appearance is interpreted. Even a seemingly lighthearted social media post featuring a large set of personal photographs has been dissected as part of this broader conversation about image, intent, and control. Ultimately, the wedding stands as both a celebration and a signal, revealing how family bonds, public attention, and private choices continue to intersect in unexpected and closely watched ways over time. So, what do you think caused Meghan to erase her mother, Doria, from the 24th anniversary photos? And is there something behind it? We'd like to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to like and subscribe.